All right then, hello everybody. Welcome to Architecture Talk 10 with Sarah Colata. Today I have Simone de Gale with me on a talk. Elections for RIBA is coming up on the 14th of this month, and she's running to stay as a National Council member that she's basically taking as a position right now at the RIBA. She's done it for 3 years and she wants to continue her candidacy for the next 10. And I am very, very, very much supporting her and what she stands for because of the fact that she very much kind of like her whole work is very much focused on the very similar work and message that I oriented my YouTube channel and my message and my influencer blog writing and everything that I do, as well as the work as a consultant for architects and as well as education, academics, all about basically raising your value as an architect and really communicating your business value to your audience, to your customers and general public. And what Simone stands for is very much that. So I'll let her introduce herself properly and tell you a little bit about herself, but we're going to be talking about how you can raise your value as an architect and basically how important it is to be part of the RIBA as a member, especially if you're in the UK, and really support their actions because it's a body that wants to basically improve your career, your work as an architect, and people like Simone are working towards that. So Simone, thank you so very much for joining me on the talk today. I'm excited to have you. I'm really excited to support you. And tell us a little bit more about you, please.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a guest on your talk show. It's so exciting. And it's really nice that architects are being creative and taking initiatives like this. I think it's fabulous to have a platform. And so basically I'm an architect and I've been qualified for nearly 10 years now, and that's the same amount of time that I've been running a practice. So I started a company as soon as I finished university, and it's just been fantastic. It's been a real journey. I started off just by myself working on these tiny little projects, and now we've got an international portfolio, we've got master plan projects, we've got some beautiful work and a team, and it's just fantastic. And I started being a National Council member 3 years ago in 2017. So I was always involved in like sort of RIBA initiatives. And in 2017, I said, I wanted to stand to be a council member to improve the offerings of the RIBA, to improve its perception, and just to really let it be an institute that architects can respect and, that they can turn to for support. And so in 2017, I won the National Council member seat, which was fantastic. And then very quickly, I was able to get involved in some real hard work at the RIBA. So the first project that I participated in was this huge commercial deal, which was to sell off one of the subsidiary companies of the RIBA. And it was amazing because I was involved at a very high level in the business negotiations, and I was able to secure £59 million of cash being invested into the RIBA as part of my council working group, of which there were 6 members. And so that was fantastic. And then the RIBA also managed to secure 42.5% shareholding in the new business, which was being invested in. So in the future, we have the opportunity to make further revenue from that transaction. So that was great because we got to pay off all of the RIBA debts. The RIBA is now financially sound, and it now gives the RIBA an opportunity to invest in a whole suite of programs. So the first program, which we've already started, working on, is a value of the architect promotional scheme. And so this has been announced, and it's ongoing at the moment. And this is, the RIBA taking out advertising pages in newspapers, in in the hot magazines, and also, you know, on billboards around the UK predominantly. But I'm quite certain that there's some taking place internationally. And this is to promote the value of an architect, and, you know, why potential clients should engage with an architect for their projects, and just basically the sort of quality that an architect, an RIBA, chartered architect, provides for the work that they're doing. And so that's fantastic. And then the second program, which is underway as well, is called the Architects Underground Club. And so this is like an amazing like initiative. Like, this is a cultural sort of event which takes place, it used to take place once a week, but I believe they're doing it bi-weekly now. And it's at the RIBA headquarters at 66 Portland Place. And basically it's like a sort of open house evening where, like, artisans, poets, musicians, and of course architects, they all come together and they just get creative. You know, they you know, talk about architecture, talk about art, and just having a different kind of connection within the community to say, you know, we have a cool edge, you know, we're interesting people, you know, and just opening up the RIBA for people to engage with. And so these are two of the programs which have already started rolling out after that huge investment that's been made into the RIBA. So that's been fantastic. And then also my second role was to become the chairwoman of the Audit and Oversight Committee. So, you know, the RIBA has a number of committees under the charity, and one of them is the Audit and Oversight Committee, which oversees all of like the accountancy, the governance, and the staff, and it basically is like an inspection of what's being done and how it can be improved. And I've been really privileged to have that role, because one of the main things that I'm interested in is, like, you know, turning the reputation of the RIBA around, you know, enforcing like a good reputation, and like stripping away that sort of negative perception which I know a lot of architects have. And so what I've been working really hard for through the audit committee is to find ways that we can, you know, work with the COO of the RIBA and get staff retention levels better. So, you know, we want the RIBA to be a place where people, you know, aspire to work. You know, we want it to be a brand that people recognize, and they work really hard, like, to get the job. And then once they get the job at the RIBA, they, you know, want to make their careers out of it. So, you know, we're working really hard to like improve the staff retention, and, you know, just understand what people want when they're going for a job and why people would want to stay. So the reason why I'm standing this year is because the tenure is for 3 years as a council member. So I'm obliged to stand again. And you know, I didn't have to stand again, but I want to stand again. I want to continue the work, because it's been so enjoyable, and it's been so exciting, because there's been so many opportunities for me over the last 3 years to really get involved at the RIBA, to really, like, speak up for what I stand for, and, you know, come up with some innovative ideas and bring it to the table, and then to be able to facilitate that. And I don't want that work to be lost. I want it to, you know, continue. You know, we're moving forward, and I want to keep pushing it and drive the agenda home, so that we can really improve the institute, so that over the next 3 years I can work hard to bring that that vision to reality. And so when I leave my role, because you can as a maximum stand 6 years in a row, you know, when I leave the RIBA in another 3 years time, I can look to it and say, you know, oh yes, it's improved, or myself as a business, I can benefit, because I know that there's new services, I know that the membership benefits have improved, and so it will be beneficial for me as well, you know, as a business person. And so I'm just willing to work really hard. You know, I've got the ideas. I know a lot of people in the RIBA now, and I've established some really good relationships with them. So, you know, people like working with me, and I just want to continue that work so that we can drive it home over the next 3 years.
Amazing, amazing. I really applaud your motivation and your determination to do that. And I wanted to ask you a little bit more about, you know, obviously you come from practice, you have all that experience of running your own practice for 10 years. And I bet starting in London wasn't easy. So what are the kind of major experiences that you're bringing into your candidacy right now, and changes that you want to implement in the RIBA coming from the experience of your practice?
Well, you know, like it's, as I said, I've been running my company for nearly 10 years now, and it's been such a journey. And, you know, I'm a really ambitious person. I'm very, very optimistic. But when I first started like practicing, you know, I was disheartened from time to time, because like, you know, when you're studying as a student, you really look up to the RIBA, and you have, you know, like that's where you want to be. You want to be an RIBA chartered architect. But then when I became chartered, like, and I had, you know, chartered colleagues, like I found a lot of like negative, you know, connotations being referred to the RIBA. And, you know, I found that members found that it wasn't serving them well. They thought, you know, why are they paying their membership fees? You know, what are they getting out of the RIBA besides the letters, you know, but behind their name? And so it made me really want to sort of challenge that thought, because, you know, I'm a very optimistic person, and because I started my company when I was quite young, you know, it was I've still got that sort of ambition and a little bit of naivety about me. So, you know, I've had experiences through working where, you know, it's been quite tough, because I'm a business person and I come from a business background, you know, in terms of like my family. I've always been like an entrepreneur, and you know, I would just find incidents where would be putting forward our fee proposal to clients, and it was a respected fee proposal, but then, you know, we would be competing with a number of other architects who would then do like whole designs for these clients without even being commissioned, without even being paid. But, you know, they were doing these designs so that they could win the work. And so for me, I was like, you know, how are we ever going to compete against these architects who are chartered and but are giving away all of their work for free just so that they can win the job? And then even when they win the job, they might be charging something like, which is maybe 20% of what we would charge, which would be a reasonable fee. And so it just didn't make any sense to me. And, you know, from my perspective, I don't ever want us to go down that route where we're throwing away our good hard work, you know, for next to nothing. I want the architect to be respected, and I want the value of our work to be acknowledged and to be respected within the industry. And so part of the work that I'm trying to do at the RIBA, also through my candidacy, is to improve the business relations that we have, the perception of the architect, you know, as I said, like even this value of an architect commission, which is already underway. It's so important that architects can value themselves and can value the quality of the work, and also understand the importance of what they're doing when they do give away their work for free. You know, not only are they giving away their work for free, they're actually putting themselves in a position of liability. You know, I recently read an article about a lady architect that was taken to court because she gave some free advice to her neighbors as to what they should do with their property, and they took the advice, and because it didn't go well with them, they then decided to sue her. And, you know, it just makes me think, my goodness, you know, what are us architects really putting ourselves into? You know, I would not put ourselves in that position. You know, when we need to have contracts in place. which sometimes I find, even through these articles I read, architects are not putting contracts in place. You know, that's the absolute minimum. You need to have a contract in place when you're engaging with a client. And then, you know, you need to charge good fees because they need to see the value of that work. And through my experience, like the clients, we've got some really good clients. And the clients that we've worked with, you know, we will always charge them for every single piece of work that we do. Even if I'm writing like a recommendation letter or a briefing note, we will charge the client for that, because when we charge the client knows that they're going to pay for that piece of work, and therefore they value that piece of work much higher than if you're just giving away something for free. So for me, as a business person, it's really important for me to get that message across to architects and to get it through the RIBA Institute, so that we can find ways that we can improve the engagement that our fellow architects have with their clients, so that we can build a better sort of standard as to what the expectation of an architect is. You know, I think it's very painful for me to acknowledge that us as architects, we study for like 7 years minimum before we're even qualified. So for a young person to invest that much time into their studies and their career, and then when they get out the other side, it's like a battle to get the jobs, a battle to get the fees, you know, putting themselves in liabilities, not being respected. I mean, it's so painful for me to think of that, because, you know, as a business person, it's a potentially a position that I could put myself in, but I'm so determined, like, not to be in that position, that, you know, it pains me to see other architects go through that. So I just want to work really hard to improve the position of architects, to improve the reputation we have with regards to our work, with regards to liability, and with regards to quality and the standard of our fees, so that, you know, we can set a better benchmark, so that whenever anyone is approaching an architect, they know automatically from the get-go that they should be expecting to pay a certain level of fees for that service. And in that regard, you know, it will just be easier for architects to operate. They won't have to offer their services for free, because they know that no one else is offering their services for free. So once we eradicate that whole mentality, it will just be much easier for architects who might not have so much confidence in business to say, you know, the RIBA recommends we charge this amount, that's what we're going to do. So anything that we can do through the RIBA to empower architects who are operating by themselves or through practices, that's 100% what I'm going to be working on over the next 3 years.
And that is really amazing. And I think that the message that you just shared with us right now really drives your action home, which is, you know, to actually educate the general public about the value of an architect, because I think that this problem has many layers. One layer is that within our kind of education background, we don't really get much business. So I think that the reason why architects don't put forward contracts, they don't know how to negotiate their prices, the reason that they undercut themselves is because they are actually lacking basic business education about how to really put value onto your work, how to put value into even the tiny things like consultancy, like little letters that you write, all that things, because all of this derives not only from, it's not you sitting down at your desk and doing it over 5 minutes. It's not your time. It's the expertise that comes behind what you're doing right now. So you're able to provide that letter, to provide that drawing, to provide that expertise, advice, because you've studied it for 7 years, because you paid for your education, because you've been working so hard to get here, because you've done your internships for free. And all of that takes time to bring you to that level. And I think that it takes really a mentality switch for architects to really understand that, but it really kind of comes from that background of business and understanding your value and how to really communicate that through negotiation skills, as well as actually putting your foot forward and saying, I'm not doing it only for myself and my practice, but also for the whole industry of architects. I'm standing, you know, behind all my fellow colleagues, because if we do go lower than that price, then we're unfortunately going to drive the industry down. And then I think on the level of institution, which is something that the reason why I support you is because you're working on the institutional level with that problem. It's really that the RIBA can set up standards, which you talk about, standards where really, if the architects look up like pricing examples, right, where there is like perhaps a fee structure to everything that you can provide, then it's so much easier to understand how to price your work, and that, yeah, it's okay to price your work based on one letter you've got to provide or a certain type of expertise that you share. Because even 15 minutes of your time, it's not 15 minutes, it's the years that kind of lead to you being able to actually provide that expertise. So I think that it's all those things of educating general public about our values, educating ourselves about business and how to do it right, as well as actually working on the institutional level. And I really like the fact that you're actually approaching it on all these levels. And I think that it's really money well spent. Also on top of that all, I think that really what motivates you, Simone, and is really that you have the experience within the practice, and you understand what it takes to actually negotiate for those prices and talk to clients and see what really is happening in the industry. And I think that your story can resonate with a lot of other architects, because we all are experiencing the same. Once we are landing our deals and we're negotiating our prices, I think a lot of us are going through a very similar situation where we find our fellow colleague undercutting prices, and that unfortunately is the drive towards a certain decline in the industry.
Well, I mean, that's what I found, and you know, it's been a little bit of a challenge, but I've always stayed strong in this mentality. And you know, I mean, of course I've had loads of clients like say, can't you just do this for free? Or, you know, even when I've been working with them for a long period of time, and I just say no. But there's another sort of way that I work on this is that I say to a client, you know, if you want this piece of work, it's going to cost you this much. And then the client has the chance to say, yes, they want the work, or no, they don't. And it's never an issue when they say no. And I tell you why, because when they say no, they don't want the work, all that means is that your time can be spent on working on another project where the client is paying you. So, you know, the fact that they say no, it should also be like a message to you that they don't want to pay you for this particular piece of work. So do they actually respect you in that manner? You know, you need to really, or us as architects, we really need to understand the value of what we're doing when we're engaging with our clients. And once we understand that, it gives us a much better playing field in terms of running a business. You know, as I said, we charge for everything. We charge for the design, we charge for the consultation, for the procurement, for the project management, anything that's involved in the, you know, in engaging our services, we, you know, we charge our client. I'm not saying that the client doesn't benefit in other ways. You know, I mean, you know, some of our projects we get coverage in magazines. So for the client, you know, once they see their project in the magazine, that's like, you know, an added bonus to the quality of their project. So, you know, in that regard, maybe they can charge more to their tenants, or maybe when they're selling the asset, they can sort of bump the price up a bit. So, you know, there's give and take. But I think you just have to be very business savvy when you're engaging with your client, because you don't want to be taken advantage of, and you want to have a good relationship with your client, and you know, you want it to continue, and you also want to build your reputation. So anything that I can do, like going back into a next 3-year term at the RIBA, you know, this is what I want to drive home. The last 3 years I helped to bring money into the RIBA, so we've got the money, we can do the programs. Now I want to drive, you know, the agenda home. I want to improve the staff retention and the reputation of the RIBA, and I want to improve the the support which is provided to architects in terms of running their businesses, in terms of being confident in their work. And, you know, as I said, I've got a really good relationship now at the RIBA, so I'm so determined, and I know that my ideas will just be welcomed.
Absolutely. And so on that note, guys, if you do feel like resonate with this message and you support Simone as much as I do, please follow the link below this video and vote. It's on the 14th, right? What time does the voting close?
It closes on the 4th of August at 5 p.m.
Okay.
But I wouldn't wait. Just as soon as the 14th of July arrives, just vote, please.
Exactly, just vote and take part in it. It's so very important because it's really shifting the way that you're guiding through running your business, and then the way that you can succeed within the business. So if you're chartered in the UK and if you're a member and if you can't vote in the UK, please follow the link and support Simone. I will also upload, I will also post her LinkedIn so you can communicate with Simone if you wanted to talk to her, and perhaps there's some business opportunity or advice, whatever, you can reach out to her. And also, please, if you do vote, share this video on your social media and share the message with other people so that she can get more votes and win. Any last words, Simone?
Just thank you so much, Sarah, for your interest in speaking to me and to provide this platform for me so that I can speak to more RIBA members. And absolutely, I'm working so hard to build this campaign and to get as many votes as possible, because there's only 2 seats available for the National Council member, and there's 10 candidates. So, I'm just working so hard so that I can be one of the candidates that wins one of those seats. So, please, everyone, just vote for me if, you like what I'm saying, and if you agree that we need to improve our position.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time, Simone, to join me on my talk. And yeah, guys, go down to the link and press vote 14th of July. Just do it. Just do it. Thank you, everybody. Ciao.
Bye.